Today we are going to look at finding the axis of symmetry using quadratic equations. And so the first thing that I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to label my A, B, and C values because that's going to help me in finding the axis of symmetry. So A equals 1, B equals -10, and C equals 9. So the reason I need those values is in order to find the axis of symmetry, I am going to use the equation x equals -b divided by 2a. That's going to give me the equation of a vertical line that's going to be my axis of symmetry. So if I look at my problem here, I have -b, so -10 divided by 2 times my a, which is 1. So x is going to equal, let's see, -10 is a +10 divided by 2, which is going to give me 5. So my axis of symmetry would actually be at x equals 5. So if I go over here, I can actually draw a dashed line at what that axis of symmetry will be for my graph. This information is also going to help us to find our vertex. But let's look at another example. So again, in this problem, I'm going to start by labeling my A, my B, and my C. So my A equals -1, my B equals -2, and my C equals -1. So I go back to x equals -b divided by 2a. So x is going to be -2 divided by 2 times -1. So you have to be very careful with your negatives in this particular equation. So on the top half, on the numerator of my problem here, -2 is actually +2. 2 times -1 is -2. And if I divide that, 2 divided by -2 is -1. So at x equals -1, I can draw a dashed red line here to represent my axis of symmetry. And again, when we have x equals a number, it's always a vertical line. And in this case, my x is -1. All right, let's continue with another example. All right, again, I start by labeling my A value is 3, my B value is -6, and my C value is 4. So I go back to my equation, x equals -b divided by 2a. So I have negative, and then my B value is -6, and then 2 times my A value, which is 3. So x equals -6 is going to turn that back into a +6 because a negative times a negative is positive. 2 times 3 is 6, and 6 divided by 6 is 1. So that means my axis of symmetry is going to be represented by the line x equals 1. So I go over here to my graph and I can draw a dashed line where x equals 1, and that will serve as my axis of symmetry. All right, one more example. Okay, this one's a little bit tricky because I only have an x squared. I don't have an x or a constant. So my A is going to be 3, my B is going to be 0, and my C is going to be 0. So I go back to my same formula, -b over 2 times A. If I substitute my values in, it would be like -0, but there really is no -0. 0 is just 0. So 0 divided by 2 times 3, which is going to be 0 over 6, and 0 divided by anything is 0. So my axis of symmetry is going to be where x equals 0, which is actually my y-axis. That's where my x value is 0, and I can draw my red dashed line to represent the axis of symmetry. I'm going to use this axis of symmetry in my next video to help you find the vertex.